From city streets to political beats, you're driving it home with Patty Vasquez, where progressive talk fuels the ride.
Thank you so much for joining as we continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle. Hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally on Facebook, YouTube, and now Minocqua Brewing Company Substack. Please hit that subscribe button. What do the kids say? Smash that subscribe button and share with your family and friends so they can join the conversation too. And we encourage you to join us at heartlandsignal.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, listen to our podcast, and catch the story that our newsroom catches that shape our democracy. And speaking of our democracy, joining us in studio is Peter Janko, Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. Peter, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and thank you so much for having me out here today.
I appreciate it. So tell me a little about yourself. Where did you grow up, my friend?
Actually, I grew up in Chicago.
You did?
Yeah.
What part?
Lincoln Park area, Lincoln, Fullerton, Halstead.
Where'd you go to high school?
Lane Tech.
Hello, class 89. All right. Well, so cool. So did you, what was your favorite shop class, my friend? You had to take shop. I had a wood shop, machine shop. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I had them all.
Yep.
I would have to say probably electric shop.
Yes. You didn't have Mr. Woss, did you? WOS? Do you remember your teacher?
Yeah, I don't. Because
But do you happen to have any of the things that you made from Lane Tech?
yeah, I do. A few
Right?
things.
We're pretty proud of those things,
Oh, yeah.
right? It was a
Yeah.
great technical school.
Oh, I had wood shop too, and I
Yeah.
actually made a Art Deco type table, or not, more MCM than I guess Art Deco.
What? Do you still have that?
No.
No. I bet you it's worth money now, is all I'm saying. It was a great school.
Oh, I know.
What made you decide to move from this wonderful city to the beautiful area of McHenry County?
I was actually born on a farm, and something just kind of said, go back to
Yeah.
my roots, you know?
Sure.
We were having kids, and we thought, we got 10 acres on the Kishwaukee River.
Well,
and I mean, what
hello.
a place for kids to grow up. So, my son actually built a tree house fort out in the woods, and all his friends used to come over, and they'd do Robin Hood and all kinds of crazy stuff out there.
That sounds almost magical. It sounds like you had a wonderful time with your family and raising them in McHenry.
Yeah, I mean, it's idyllic for a kid.
Yeah. Have you always been involved politically? Was you growing up in Chicago were you on student council at Lane Tech?
No, actually, no. I was out busy, protesting, and that. I mean, we're talking about late 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
You
Yeah.
were one of the classes that had the first girls in the school.
No,
No?
I think
Early.
I graduated in 1970, and I'm not sure what year.
Get out of here. I would not have guessed that. Seriously, I thought later in the 70s. All right, so you were
Yeah.
before the girls were at the school.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
I went to Wright College, and then I went to Northeastern.
Oh my God, come on. I feel like we're on a parallel track here. So I went to Lane Tech. Well, I went to U of I. I took my summer school because I wanted to finish faster at U of I. I went to Wright Community College and took classes there. It was a great school.
Oh, yeah, it was. A lot of people don't appreciate it to this day.
Yeah, and my mother graduated from Northeastern Illinois University. So I kind of feel like when were you at Northeastern, just out of curiosity?
Mid to late 70s.
Yeah, I was 1,000% there. Do you remember have you been there lately with like the track and all the athletics field? That used to be, remember those old mansions that were behind Northeastern back in the 70s? Do you remember it all?
No, vaguely, but I remember the track fields and stuff.
Yeah, so I was at daycare and day camp and preschool at Northeastern Illinois Universities. It's a great school as well. You went to these gems of the Midwest, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And so you were involved in protesting. Tell us a little about that in the 70s and what you were engaged in.
Well, I would say that my first real experience is I went out with a couple friends, and we kind of witnessed the 68 Democratic Convention firsthand, and it was quite an experience, and it stayed with me, and I guess you could say, it created an activist out of it, seeing everything that's wrong.
Well, that's the thing, is that that's incredible, because you were only 15, maybe 16 years old when you were at the Democratic Convention,
Right.
seeing how people were being treated when we were fighting for
I
civil
was
rights.
either 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
Well, that's incredible. Well, what inspired you to go to see what was going on at the 68 National Convention?
Curiosity more than anything else. I mean, at that time, we weren't really into, politics.
Sure.
You know, we were more
you're
on.
15. Why would you be? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were curious about what was going on, and that changed
Oh, yeah,
you.
we were involved, too. And I remember at that time, I would call them rebel priests. They were holding these
Yes.
things in the basement. You know, we would go and do the rallies. And what was so interesting is now we have all this social media. But during that time, how we found out about the protests is you had a list of 5 people to call. So you got to call, you know, be at Grant Park tomorrow at 9 o'clock and, you know, for this protest. And then you just get on the phone and
You had a
we
phone
just had a
tree.
network. Yeah, you know.
Incredible. So when did you get more involved? What led you to run for Democratic state? Let's go. I feel like we're missing a lot in between. So when you were a student at Lane Tech and I went to Wright College and Northeastern, what did you study at Northeastern?
Oh, physics and psychology.
I'm sorry. So you like facts and science and stuff that is attestable and having a theory and proving it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you end up doing with those studies?
Well, I ended up going to a consulting firm. At the time, it was Ernst & Ernst, and now they're Ernst & Young,
Sure.
headquartered in London. And so I did spend a lot of time writing reports, marketing research, and that's how I know how to do these papers. But back in those days, you know, we didn't have the internet to go do research on. We'd have to go to the libraries, you know, and pull out newspapers and microfiche, all that kind of stuff. So it's a whole different world. And it's a lot easier these days to find out what's going on.
Yeah, as a historian, I wrote my dissertation, my thesis in 1992, and I remember I think my eyes are still recovering from those microfiche.
Oh, I know. I still have one in my garage, the microfiche machine.
You have a reader in your garage?
Yeah, I
Come
do.
on. Well,
Yeah.
now I know where to go when I have anything
and
that's
it's in perfect condition. It still works, and I got a whole box full of microfiches. There were manuals, actually, service manuals.
Do people? Do you rent that out for people who want to see the original?
I
copy?
just
You should-
just
I'm
borrow
saying,
it.
This seems
Yeah.
like a service.
Yeah, where I got that from is I actually got into product design at Motorola. And when I first started there, all their stuff, their manuals, their service manuals were on microfiche. And then when everything went to computer, they just said, well, just take it all home. You know, we just want to get rid of it.
Yeah. So when did you decide? When you were invested in what was happening culturally and politically when you were young? I mean, did that kind of survive while you were working and raising a family? Were you as engaged?
No. Actually, I got
okay.
I got re-engaged when I got retired.
Okay.
So I figured I got a couple of more good years left to do something, you know, rather than sit on the couch. You know, ever since my early days, you know, I've lived by this philosophy that you leave the planet better than when you arrive. And I work towards that.
Amen, my friend. We are talking to Peter Janko, Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Illinois Care Initiative and some other elements that I know that you want to discuss with our audience. Again, you can go to PeteForIllinois.com. That's Pete for, the number 4, Illinois.com. And we will continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150. And hello to all of our friends tuning in digitally. We'll be right back after this.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
No detours, no distractions. Just bold ideas and real talk. This is Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We continue our drive home here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150, and of course, everyone tuning in digitally, whether you're a live streaming viewer or listening to our podcast sometime in the future. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are online, please consider subscribing and sharing with your family and friends so they can join the conversation too. And if you listen to the show regularly, you know that I am often beating the drum of how important it is to find a path forward when it comes to healthcare, whether it's costs or accessibility. And joining me in studio is our guest, Peter Janko, who's Democratic State Central Committee person, 11th Congressional District of Illinois, and candidate for State Representative 69th District. And we want to talk a little bit about this organization called the Illinois Care Initiative. And, I've talked to legislators, I've talked to state reps, as a matter of fact, a group that you are seeking to join. And what they have told me is that in Springfield, Peter, that there's no energy behind really reforming healthcare. I mean, from my own state representative in this district who I ran against, because Lindsay LaPointe said there is no energy in Illinois, in the capital, for really moving forward with a comprehensive healthcare plan.
Yeah, that's kind of my observation, too. we've done, I've seen a number of really good healthcare reforms, but to me, those are reactionary. In other words, they're putting a Band-Aid on a wound that pops up.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get to the bottom of all of our actual problems as they exist, and I don't want to just do that in one area. I want to make sure we get the snapshot of the entire state so we know how the priority of what we need to fix, and then look into what we can actually do at the state level that doesn't conflict with, federal regulations and CMS and ERISA or anything else. And I'm finding out there's actually quite a bit that we can do on our own.
Yeah.
And I just want to charge up the troops and get this going and try and get all you listeners out there to kind of get involved, tell your stories, okay?
Yes.
We started a Facebook group and a page, and part of making this process work is we need your stories, okay? Your stories are very individual, and engagement is everything, because if we're not out in front where our legislators can see us, where a governor can see us, nobody's going to do anything about it.
That's what I've tried to argue for years. And I know that it can be daunting, don't you think, for people to go into their legislator's office. This is why I just told Jesse this in the last segment. And what I've told my listeners, I want to do a field trip to Springfield so you can hear how they talk about you when you're not in the room, because they don't expect you to show up in Springfield or in their office or sending them an email or calling them, do they?
No, they don't. And as a matter of fact, the current process is kind of backwards, because the way it works now is the legislation is a negotiation between the legislators and the lobbyists for the industry. And my feeling, this is personal, is that when these negotiations happen, okay, the insurance companies, the pharmaceuticals, they're giving up what they can give up to look good, okay? It's not necessarily everything that we can get out of them as far as what benefits the people, right? And my thing is we need to push a little bit harder on them. And part of these listening tours is to find out people from the industry, that know how the sausage is made, and get them to be our experts on our side so we know how far we can push on legislation that we need. And the other thing is we're just not being tough enough, right? And the one thing that I keep getting told is when we do this back and forth, the legislators and the lobbyists, okay, if we push too far, they say, well, we're going to leave Illinois. And my attitude is, you know what? Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yes, don't hit the door hit you where the good Lord split you, is my attitude.
Right, okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
But I was told not to cuss.
Well, because the cussing is implied, my friend.
Yeah.
I agree. If we're beholden, because if you're beholden to powerful people to do the right thing, then you will be beholden to them to do the wrong thing.
Exactly. The other thing, too, is what a lot of people don't realize is we have the 5th largest healthcare economy in the United States. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to give up that business. We could push much harder, and that's what we should do.
When I ran for state rep, one of the things I talked about was transparency in pricing. And even since then, it's gotten even worse for me in understanding how our health insurance companies work. And in the state of Illinois, we have the ability to legislate. So I had to have surgery I was supposed to have it done in 2019. And the hospital called me and said, your part of this surgery is going to be $4,500, even though I had the PPO, the highest I could pay for, because I have an adult son with disabilities. I pay for the whole kit and caboodle. And I was like, I go, well, I can't have the surgery then. And I called the doctor's office, and I said, here's what they've told me. I said, how much, if I had this surgery and I didn't have insurance, how much would it cost me out of pocket? How much would it cost me to pay in cash? They said $9,000. So my part of a surgery with healthcare and coverage would be $4,500. And I asked why, and they said because they don't recover all of their costs, that they bill the insurance company $60,000 so they can get that $9,000. But the insurance company then bills me $4,500 because of the $60,000 cost.
Oh, I know. It's totally ridiculous. But that reminds me of another situation that we have. So I'm all for Medicare for all. I have been since 1996, okay, when my son got sick in Germany. And I saw firsthand there's a better way. But I'm also looking at all of these big national organizations like National Nurses United and even Illinois Single Payer Coalition. And what they do is they parade these really horrific, worst case things in front of us. And, you know, I studied psychology, right? And after a while, you get numb to it and you go into denial. You know, you say, well, that extreme is never going to happen to me. Right? And so I think what they need to do is focus more on everyday stories. And if we have time, I'll tell you one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So right before Bernie's big appearance at Navy Pier a couple of years back, I took a fall face first on my driveway. My driveway has probably a 30% incline, and I'm walking up, and my feet go out from under me. I go face first into the asphalt.
Oh, no.
So I go to our urgent care, the closest one to me, because we're told, well, you know, you don't want to get stuck with an emergency room bill, right? Because we know what happens there.
Yeah.
So I go to the urgent care. They took a look at me, and I said, no, we can't. That's way too serious, okay? Go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room that's in my network. And so they stitched me up fine, and they said, okay, in 2 weeks, have your stitches taken out, right? But they didn't exactly say where I should, okay?
Yeah.
So I went back to the first urgent care, which is close to my house, and they asked me who put those stitches in, right? Oh, and I said, you know,
Yeah.
Northwestern Medicine and New Mercy Health, you know, so well, they put them in, we can't take them out, you know. So that's probably a liability issue, right? They're afraid of getting sued, right? So then I'll go to Northwest Medicine's urgent care in Crystal Lake, you know? And they said, oh, no, you got to go back to the hospital. I said, well, you're in the same network. I'm willing to pay cash. Just take these stitches out because next week, you know, I'm going to see Bernie as a state central committeeman. I'm in the VIP section. The camera's going to, you know, and I don't want to look like Frankenstein with knots coming all out of my face,
Yeah.
right? So anyway, out of desperation, I had a week left. You know, I talked my wife, Nancy, who's kind of watching us, into taking them out.
Oh, my
Except-
God. Okay. Poor Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but she's a veterinary technician, so she's taken out stitches before
Okay.
on cats and dogs and all kinds of other
She's
stuff.
like, my husband's good as a dog. I can do this.
Well, she didn't want to do it. You know,
Sure.
I had to bribe her. I forgot what it was. I either had to do a dinner or a spa or something, you know. But
Nice.
And I was thinking about sending that bill, you know, to the insurance company, say,
Yeah.
well, this is part of getting stitches out. And I'm just wondering if they would have reimbursed me.
Yeah, really. And that's the thing is that often it's personal experience that propels us into spaces like this. And I want to thank you for taking on not just the challenge, but also, you know, to want to give back to your community and represent folks. Again, we've been talking to Peter Janko. It's pete4illinois.com. Clearly passionate about your ability to afford health care, to have transparency, to have access, to have some logic in your care is what we're fighting for. And we need people like him in places like Springfield. So I appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me out here today. I mean, it really, really means a lot because I want your listeners, your viewers, and everything to really get energized and understand how important this is and to actually believe that we can create change. Because I believe we can.
I agree with you. Again, that's pete4illinois.com. And if you want more information about the Illinois Care Initiative, go to healthcareforillinois.com. That's healthcareforillinois.com. The Illinois Care Initiative, a citizen-driven framework for improving healthcare affordability, access, transparency, and sustainability. Thank you so much for all of this, and we look forward to having you back.
Well, thank you. I look forward to coming back.
Absolutely.